So thanks everybody for coming out to our online webinar with the Honorable Mona Fortier, the Minister for Middle Class Prosperity and Associate Minister of Finance. So thanks for being here with us. But to open up, I'm just going to turn it over to our local MP, Mr. Ron Mckinnon, the MP for Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam. Say a few words, Ron, if you will.
Well, thank you, Mike. I'm very happy to join you today, and I'm very appreciate that you put this together and for inviting me. I'd certainly like to welcome the Minister to the Tri-Cities areas, if only briefly, or sorry, if only virtually. I've already given her grief about the cherry blossoms and how they're actually dealing with snow down in Ottawa, so we'll try and be sensitive a little bit more to her conditions. So we certainly know that the business community touches all of our lives, and its strength is incredibly important to our families, friends, our networks, and our neighbors. And of course, with COVID-19, which, you know, the circumstances change almost daily, how we operate as a country and as a community. And I just certainly want to thank all of your efforts to roll with the punches and meet these challenges head on. And as your MP, please do continue to reach out, as we want to support you and will continue to advocate for you. So I want to thank you all again for being here today, and I thank the Minister for not only taking the time to speak with us, but for all the work that I know she's doing leading up to this point. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. That's great. Yeah, without any much further ado, there's lots of, it's constantly changing, news is constantly changing. There's some announcements today, and the Minister will speak about those in just a second. And I will say one thing, I think that my perception is the government's been very receptive and very open and wants to hear what people are going through. This is new for everybody. It's new territory. And part of the problem is that there'll be political announcements made like there were today, but the details are a little slower coming because the civil service has to work through everything. As soon as we get the information, we're sending it out. I think they're working as fast as they can. They're rolling out billion-dollar projects in a week, and that doesn't happen normally. So that's a big project. So thanks for all your hard work and expediency on getting this done. I think there are a few cracks, a few things that have fallen through the cracks a little bit, which we'll touch on. But I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Fortier right now to open up for a couple of comments, and then we got questions.
Well, good evening, bonsoir. Merci de m'avoir invité aujourd'hui. Thank you for having me today. And I would like to recognize my colleague, Ron Mckinnon. I know that he's been also working very hard in the past month since this beginning of COVID and the other years before, of course, but especially in the last month, sharing concerns, advocating for his riding, but also for you. So I wanted to recognize his hard work. And I also want to thank Michael, if I may, and the Tri-Cities Chamber of Commerce team and all members for actually hosting this live event tonight. It's very important for me to answer your questions from businesses and Canadians in the community, as this is the part of the process to make sure that Canadians are supported during this difficult time. Je suis certaine que vous conviendrez tous que nous nous trouvons dans une période de crise sans précédent, alors que nous luttons contre les impacts sanitaires, sociaux, économiques de la pandémie de la COVID-19. We know that due to the severe impacts this pandemic is causing, businesses need help to keep more workers employed so that Canadians can keep up with their bills. The approach we have taken to respond to this unprecedented crisis has been based on 3 steps. Firstly, we are ensuring that the health and safety of Canadians is at the heart of everything that we are doing. Secondly, we are working to ensure everyone is protected and nobody falls through the cracks. And lastly, we are putting in place measures to address the needs and to find solutions for all Canadians. And that means taking a made in Canada approach in our procurement efforts, as well as our ways of going about recovery. We are rethinking our ways of doing to make sure that it is all hands on deck. And this is why over the last few weeks, we have announced a series of broad economy-wide supports as a part of Canada's COVID-19 economic response plan. Now, through this plan, we're providing more than $100 billion in direct support, $85 billion in liquidity support through income tax, GST, and customs duty payment deferrals, and over $570 billion in additional credit and liquidity support. Additionally, last week, millions of Canadians began applying for the new Canada Emergency Response Benefit, or the CERB that we call now, which was set up to make sure everyone can afford to put food on the table, pay for housing, and necessary medicine. Now, this benefit provides $2,000 a month for up to 4 months to workers who lose their income as a result of this pandemic. And to make sure, or to make it as flexible and accessible as possible, the benefit is available to workers whether or not they are eligible for employment insurance. And yesterday, the Prime Minister announced additional eligibility for the benefit. Now, individuals can earn up to $1,000 per month while collecting the CERB. We are also extending the benefit to seasonal workers who have exhausted their EI regular benefits and cannot undertake their usual seasonal work as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak, and workers who have recently exhausted their EI regular benefits and are unable to find a job or even return to work because of COVID-19. We also announced that we will be working with provinces and territories to cost share a temporary top-up to the salaries of low-income essential workers that the provinces and territories have deemed essential in the fight against COVID-19. The Government of Canada will cover a portion of that cost, including in British Columbia and in Quebec, where provincial governments have already implemented direct wage support for low-income workers in the essential service sectors. De plus, pour aider les entreprises à conserver leurs employés ou à les réembaucher et pour les aider à se préparer à la reprise, nous avons également introduit une subvention salariale pour les entreprises admissibles. Also, as you may have heard, we have made available the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, which applies at a rate of 75% for the first $58,700 normally earned by employees, which represents a benefit of up to $847 per week for the 12-week period from March 15th to June 6th, 2020, of course. This subsidy will prevent further job losses and encourages employers to rehire workers previously laid off as a result of COVID-19. It will be available to employers who have suffered a drop in gross revenues of at least 15% in March and 30% in April and May. Employers of all sizes and across all sectors of the economy, with the exception of public sector entities, are now eligible for this. Bakeries, movie theaters, hardware stores, you name it, if they have been significantly impacted by COVID-19, they are eligible. Last weekend, we saw this piece of legislation pass through the House of Commons and the Senate and received royal assent. I was among the members voting on this historic bill, and I don't need to tell you how important it is, as you all know. By keeping their employees, Canadian companies will be in a better position to bounce back quickly, hopefully, after the crisis. We have also introduced a new Canada Emergency Business Account, also known as CEBA, and this program will provide support to eligible financial institutions so they can provide interest-free, partially forgivable loans of up to $40,000 to small businesses, including nonprofits. Earlier today, the Prime Minister announced that this program will be expanded. We will lower the floor and raise the ceiling. The program will be accessible to businesses that paid between $20,000 and $1.5 million in total payroll in 2019, instead of the earlier threshold that we had, which was between $50,000 and $1 million of of payroll. Now, more than 195,000 loans have been approved by financial institutions, extending more than $7.5 billion in credit to small and medium-sized businesses. These loans are guaranteed and funded by the Government of Canada and will ensure that small business have access to capital they need, a 0% interest rate to pay for rent and other important costs over the next number of months. Today, we also announced our intent to introduce the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance, CECRA, program for small businesses. This program will seek to provide loans, including forgivable loans, to commercial property owners who have foregone or lowered rent of small businesses for the months of April, May, and June. And we are currently, as we speak, the Prime Minister is working with the premiers, with the provinces and territories who are responsible for property owner-tenant relationships to increase rent support for businesses that are most impacted by the pandemic. And we will have more details to share very soon. Nous avons dit que nous ferons tout ce qu'il faut pour protéger la santé et la sécurité des Canadiens, stabiliser l'économie et atténuer l'impact économique de la pandémie de la COVID-19, et c'est ce que nous faisons. In this unprecedented time, we will continue to carefully monitor all developments related to COVID-19 and work hard to ensure businesses get the support they need. As a former business owner, I know how difficult it is for businesses to brace themselves for this type of challenge. The measures we are putting in place are meant to help as many Canadians as possible and as quickly as possible. Now, you can imagine, we are creating, developing, adapting, and delivering in record timing as we speak. This type of conversation is part of the process and the development and evolution of the programs. Your ideas and questions are valuable and help us mold our approach and responses. We've been doing this for the past few weeks. And as mentioned previously, we are still in the response phase, the emergency response phase of this crisis. Although we are looking into how to best prepare ourselves for the recovery phase, we all know that this situation is ever evolving and the immediate needs of Canadians are our priority. And I know many of you are wondering what recovery will look like, and we will continue to do our best to support as many Canadians as rapidly as possible within this evolving crisis. So again, I want to thank you very much for your time this evening, for all of your work that you're doing in your communities. And we know that these are difficult times, but we can and we will get through it. And to do that, we need to work together, and that's what we're doing tonight. So thank you very much, and merci beaucoup. And I will now entertain your questions and comments.
Thank you, Minister. Really appreciate that. A number of questions were submitted earlier, as we asked you to on the webpage, so I'm going to go through those really quickly. And if we got time at the end, we'll take some other questions, so you can put them in chat, and Steph will send them off to me. The first question we talked about was the Canada Emergency Bank account and the payroll, and this question was submitted yesterday being under 50K or 50K. Now it's gone down to 20K. So that's probably answered that question right there. You've made the adjustment, take it down to 20 at the floor. So that, I think that was a pretty positive move, and you increased it at the top end to 1.5. So I think we've touched on that. Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I just want to give really a concrete example on how when we first announced the threshold of 50 to $1 million, we knew that it would help a lot of businesses. But then with different conversations with your Chamber of Commerce and others across the country, we realized that we needed to look at it and tweak it. So that's why we went forward today in changing it and making sure that many more businesses have access to it.
Perfect. I think one of the key questions that come up with the last few days is from small business owners who take draws on their business, or they pay themselves dividends as opposed to salaries. They seem to be left out of this, all the programs so far. And there's quite a few of them in our area, and I'm sure there is across the country. As I was on a call with the Canadian Chamber this afternoon, and we heard the same thing. Is there any consideration, what can we do for these people who aren't getting salary but are taking draws and dividends?
So again, as you know, the government has introduced various measures to support the financing for Canadian businesses in all sectors and regions whose revenues have been temporarily reduced. So we've been focusing on that emergency situation. And that includes the CEBA, the Canadian Emergency Business Account, that will support smaller businesses to access capital they need. Now, those who do not meet the CEBA criteria can also access other measures under the Business Credit Availability Program, the BCAP. And this new small medium enterprise loan and guarantee program was introduced to address the needs of businesses beyond what is available under the CEBA. And this program is backed by the BDC, so the Business Development Bank of Canada, and Export Development Canada. And it will allow eligible businesses to obtain flexible term loans of up to 12.5 million to cover, or to help cover, immediate operational cash flow needs. And interested businesses should contact their financial institutions, either their banks or credit unions that have been accredited, to be able to see if they can benefit from this program. There's also the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, which I mentioned in my remarks, that is available to self-employed individuals who have stopped working as a result of COVID-19. And if they meet the eligibility criteria, including earning no other income, well, actually up to $1,000 for the 14 continuous days within the initial 4-week benefit, they will be eligible. So we have those responses at this time.
Okay, the suggestion coming on, just so I can give you this, is instead of using the T4 sum, the T2125 Statement of Business or Professional Activities, that's being on the chat here quite a bit about maybe using that instead, because I'm hearing from quite a few of my members who are taking draws or paying dividends and feel like they're falling through the cracks and it's not being addressed. So I'd like you to, if you could take that information back.
Noted. I just took note, and I appreciate giving us those great ideas so we can see how we can continue to move forward in helping businesses.
Okay, thank you. And the next question was, if their non-essential services orders last longer, will it be available fund increase under CEBA?
So currently, financial institutions are accepting applications for CEBA until June 30th, 2020. And as we've said since the beginning, we will continue to take action as necessary as we go. And again, today, as we announced the expansion of the eligibility requirements between 20,000 and 1.5 million in annual payroll to qualify CEBA. So if these businesses meet this new range, we will be able to apply shortly through their financial institutions. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we will continue to monitor developments and work closely with financial institutions, stakeholders as yourself, to support the ongoing needs that we see coming. As we know, there are so many unknowns coming up, we want to make sure that we do monitor at the same time.
Awesome. Next question here, I think you just kind of answered it. CEBA requires small business to take on debt to cover rent, etc., while repayment terms is 18 months. For some business, recovery time may take, to get back to pre-COVID-19 service levels, may take several months once non-essential services order is lifted. I think the terms are fairly generous, but do you want to go through that a little bit?
So again, as you, if you look on the website, that is also an information space that businesses can go look at on the Canadian Government of Canada website for COVID. It's very clear how businesses can have different supports there. We try to make it as friendly as possible to find ways. But I would also say that loans advanced as part of CEBA are interest-free up until December 31st, 2022. But if they are forgivable loans, if you repay them by December 31st, 2021. And after this, businesses also have the option to renew loans under CEBA for another 3 years with an interest rate at 5%. And this program, pardon me?
Sorry, and most of the financial institutions are now on board, credit unions and the major banks?
Great news. The major banks, of course, are on board. And in the last 2 weeks, we've been accrediting credit unions across the country. And I know that many of them are available in BC and should be able to support you.
And if they can't get it through their credit union or their FI, they can go to use another one if need be.
Yes, of course. And again, if somebody has questions, of course they can call me or call us to make sure that we do provide the specific answer to a question or a need.
Okay. Next question was about the emergency wage subsidy. And can you explain the arm's length clause? What does that mean?
So a special rule applies to employees that do not deal at arm's length with the employer, for example, the spouse or child of the employer. Basically, the rule provides that the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy is only available in respect of a non-arm's length persons who were employees prior to March 15th, 2020. And the subsidy available for these employees is 75% of the employee's pre-crisis weekly remuneration, up to a maximum benefit of $847 per week.
Okay. And small business owners not eligible for the wage subsidy as they pay themselves through dividends. Again, this question keeps coming up about how people are being paid and they're paying through dividends and they're not eligible for the wage subsidy. So I really encourage the government to look at what they can do for this group of entrepreneurs, and being a former entrepreneur yourself, I'm sure you can understand the angst that they're feeling right now as they choose to go through their business cycle like that. So I really strongly encourage the government to look at the ways to address that issue.
Hey, Mike, can I jump in here just a minute?
You sure can.
So I just want to emphasize that as well. I know that as a small businessman for many, many years, we didn't take dividends, but we took personal draws and then paid them out as bonuses. So I think that's certainly another thing we need to look at, and I will certainly follow up with you in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Next question is, can owners switch themselves over to a T4 payroll employee of their own company and cover the wages? Or are they disqualified as it's due to the arm's length clause?
So the answer to this is that the owner of a company who becomes an employee of the company in order to access the CEWS Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, I call it the CEWS, would likely be subject to the non-arm's length rule. And basically this rule provides that the CEWS is only available in respect of non-arm's length persons who were employees prior to March 15th, 2020. And the subsidy available for these employees is 75% of the employee's pre-crisis weekly remuneration, which is up to a maximum benefit of $847 per week.
Okay. Next set of questions about commercial rent reduction, and the Prime Minister just announced some stuff today, which is great news. He foreshadowed it a couple of days ago. And I know the details aren't out yet, so I'm not sure how much you can comment on this because it's probably not set yet. But let's just a couple of questions are: what rent reduction supports is the government looking into? Is there a possibility of reducing rent proportionally to loss of sales? And if business faces complete closures, is the government considering protecting tenants in regarding to those lease commitments?
So I'll start with the first question. And as you know, we've been really taking action to fight against COVID-19. And we've heard businesses, and we understand that businesses are worried about being able to pay the rent. And it's completely understandable. Now, landlords across the country have stepped up to the plate, offering relief to their tenants and helping them get through this challenging time. And our government commends their leadership. In recognition of the challenges facing Canadian businesses and property owners, our government intends, as you know, to introduce the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance, the CECRA, as I said earlier, for small businesses. And this program will seek to provide loans and/or forgivable loans to commercial property owners who provide businesses with rent reductions in April, May, and June. And to do this, we require partnership with provincial and territorial governments. So as you can imagine, we're working with that at this time. And we hope to have, as you know, more details very soon.
Okay, we look forward to hearing those.
For the second question you asked
go ahead.
about business who face complete closures and how do we consider protecting the tenants, I believe that was your question.
Yep.
As you know, the owner-tenant relationship is governed by the provincial government. So with that said, I commend property owners across the country who have stepped up to help tenants face really financial hardship due to COVID-19. And many provincial governments have also already taken into action to support tenants. I don't have the specifics of what happened in British Columbia, but I'm sure that they have stepped up. And it's in our intent to work with the provinces to continue to get that understanding with the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program very soon.
Thank you. I know BC did make announcements today, which we sent out. I'm not sure they don't go far enough right now for some of the, especially the restaurants out there. I will send you a video that one of my members sent me from Australia, what they did down there. Very interesting stuff that the Australian government, I'll send it off to you and Ron this afternoon or evening your time. So
thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Some really good stuff. So and we're hearing that from a lot of our members. They're very, especially in the restaurant industry where they've got small margins to begin with, and the takeout's not, it's keeping some cash flow, but it's not going to make it work. And it depends how long this goes, whether they can survive. So they need some help.
Yeah.
Another question that's come up is, I mentioned this yesterday when we spoke, is refunds on transaction fees. A number of our members, and they could be hockey clubs, gymnastics clubs, sporting organizations, they've scheduled to hold events during this time when we're closed down, and they took in hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees, and they have to refund these fees back to these people, to the clients, and they're getting charged a service fee on the front end by the credit card companies, as mostly they pay by credit card, and they're getting charged a refund fee on the other side. So they're losing on both sides. Is there any talk, and I know this is probably fairly new, about asking the credit card companies for some forgiveness, because they're getting the money twice, and the businesses are out all that money?
So I completely understand that some businesses have different considerations we have to look at. And without wanting to repeat myself too much, as you know, the programs we've offered at this time are the ones that are available. The one, for example, the wage subsidy might be something that can be helpful for those businesses who have been forced to close, and with trying to find ways to continue. We also allowed businesses to defer the GST, HST payments and custom duties until the end of June. That's another measure that we have offered. And the fact that we launched the new Canada Emergency Business Account to provide interest-free loans to small businesses and nonprofits is another one that we've been talking about. So I would tell you that we have to look under the considerations that there are other realities, and hopefully we can work with those businesses to find ways to support them. And we really want to support the workers, especially the businesses, to make sure we deal with this pandemic.
No, and I appreciate that, and appreciate everything you've done. I think on this one, it's just a matter of bringing it up to the finance ministry and just saying, you know, maybe the banks can show a little bit of leniency there because they're making lots of money on both ends, and the events aren't happening. The people are out thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them had the event ready to go. I talked to some member this morning, had the event ready to go, $100,000 in production costs, and had to cancel it the morning of. So they're out that, plus they're out any refund money. So every $1,000 or $10,000 helps. And I think it's maybe something we can approach the banks about showing some leniency during these times. Because, and I know there's some commercial bankers on my board, but they're getting theirs. So
and thank you for sharing that. I know that you shared it with me yesterday when we started to look at what kind of questions would come up. I did not find a solution today and was not able to get more info, but apart from the fact that we are going to look at how we can address this really important question. And again, you gave a good idea of working with the financial institutions. And I can tell you that the Minister of Finance is in contact daily with financial institutions to make sure that we work together and try to provide relief, and we will continue to share that message.
Yeah, and if you could bring that one forward, they probably haven't heard that much, but I know in the sports industry, and sports is important to all of us and keeps kids busy. This could be the difference between a gym closing or staying open. So that would be great. Yeah.
Ron will remind me.
I will make sure Ron reminds you.
Yes, I can count on
number
that.
12, I think we had, can personal services businesses sell retail products to clear inventory while collecting CBIB, the benefit? And yes, they can, up to $1,000. And there's a $1,000 threshold there. I assume that's the case.
So it's a CERB, you're right,
Yep.
that part-time workers or people that had maybe 3 part-time jobs and lost 2 and still have 1. What we really wanted to do is to make sure that we didn't penalize the people that were continuing to work one of their jobs, and we knew that wasn't enough of income. So now the enhancement, as you mentioned, will allow people to earn up to $1,000 per month while collecting the CERB.
And the last question I have here, but I've got a couple others online, is part-time workers. One of the problems with CERB is unintended consequences is part-time workers not earning up to $2,000. Just they don't want to work. They will just not work. They'll go home and collect CERB, and it's making it tough on some smaller employers to get their part-time workers in. Is the government considering assistance to motivate part-time workers to return to work?
So we also announced that we would work with provinces and territories through a new transfer to cost share, a temporary top up to the salaries of workers deemed essential in the fight against COVID and who make less than $2,500 a month. And I believe British Columbia and I know Quebec have already implemented direct wage support for low-income workers in the essential service sectors. So we will, as a federal government, will be sharing the cost of this wage support through the new transfer to these provinces, and more details are to come.
Okay. Some questions coming up and comments coming up here on the chat. Mary Villani, our board chair, works for one of the big 5 big banks, says, I know point of service credit card debit providers are taking calls from their clients to provide relief. I think it's important for you to contact your provider and make sure they know what you're going through. So the more you keep banging that drum, I think the better off you are. A question from Rick.
Say that, if I may again,
Yep.
because it's so important that we all have a role to play, not only the government, the federal government, all level of government, but also stakeholders and financial institutions. We're all in this together. So I believe that it's important to remind that when you go see your local financial institution, you sit down with them and try to find a solution, because we all need to continue to make sure that we protect our businesses, even though we have to put the lights off at this time for many of them, because when we want to recover, we want to be able to put that switch. I know it's not easy to say, it's not that easy, but we want to make us in the best possible position to be able to continue. So financial institutions are a partner in all this.
Okay. Question from Randy Webster, our past board chair. Can you clarify the rules around waiving the employer portion of CPEI remittance? He says, we have hired a number of employees back that we don't quote unquote need. In the spirit of fairness and maintaining social distancing, we're rotating paid days off. The CPPEI premium, 7.5% approximate of wages, is a sizable disincentive to hire employees back.
So if I may, because I know I have an answer, but it's going to be too general, I would prefer taking that back,
Yep.
answering the question and sharing it with everyone to make sure that you do have a specific answer to this very important question.
No problem. We will make sure you get that question and you do that.
I wouldn't want to give the wrong information at this time. I believe it's important to really answer that question.
Let me see what else we got here. Trish Mandeo, City Councilor in Coquitlam, asks, what would you suggest for those who were laid off just before COVID and not been able to successfully file for EI due to office closures? I think I know the answer to that one.
You want to answer for me?
No, you go ahead. Your gig.
Well, again, you have the possibility to apply for CERB, because that's for people that have been laid off or can't work because of COVID. These people can have access to CERB.
But I think she may be saying there, unless I'm reading it wrong, successfully filed for EI due to office closures. Trish, are you saying about Service Canada office closes? Do they not have the ability to apply online? Or if they can't apply online, what can they do? Is that where you're going with that, Trish? You can phone into Service Canada.
You can call in.
Yeah.
There are many, many lines that are open, and you can also go online to have access to the service. At this time, we wanted to, of course, make sure that our public servants and were in a safe position to be able to serve Canadians. So at this time, by phone or online is the way to have access, and we're going to continue to find ways to make sure that Canadians have access to these services that are offered by the government.
Okay, another question here real quick, like, is there 4 keys to flattening the curve quickly? Testing, physical distancing, self-isolation, and contact tracing. Are we prepared, is the government prepared to allow Apple/Google/Facebook to help the government with contact tracing? I've heard the privacy rules would be violated. However, we're living in a world of limited freedoms. Wouldn't be prepared to make this trade-off? And that comes from Randy Webster.
Well, thank you for that question, Randy. And I believe that you are right. We have to make sure that we protect Canadians not only for their health and safety, but also to make sure that we protect their personal information. We are currently looking at different options to really reinforce how we can flatten that curve, and we are working on strategies made in Canada, but also strategies that some businesses could help us with to really encourage contact tracing, encourage making sure that we follow the measures to make sure Canadians are in a better position to fight this pandemic. We will really make sure that we provide or protect Canadians as a priority, and then we will continue with different innovative ways to make sure we can deliver those services.
Okay, so some feedback on the commercial rent assistance. I know Desiree saying, I know it's still in progress, but did you say it would only be available for property owners? Our property owner is not willing to give any reductions right now. And another one follow-up that I have, the same concern, this is from Anita. 4 locations and 3 landlords haven't even responded to us. One will give us partial deferral only, expecting us to pay half. So there's really lots of angst out there about how this landlord, how the rent subsidies or rent assistance program will work.
So again, the information that I shared with you this evening is what we have for now. I know that many details are coming up soon. We know and we recognize that Canadian businesses and property owners And we know that we have, as a government, we have to introduce this Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance for small businesses, and it will seek to provide loans and forgivable loans to commercial property owners who provide businesses with rent reductions in April, May, and June. So we will partner with commercial property owners and also work with provinces and territories to deliver this program. Now, as you know, we will listen to see if there are other concerns or ideas around this, and what you've just shared, I will take back to make sure that we recognize the hardship the businesses are living right now.
And I think there's just a little bit of angst out there that if the landlord does get the subsidy, are they passing it on to the tenant?
Well,
there's angst about that.
Yeah, we're going to, of course, not just put it like that and just send them the money. They have to provide and demonstrate that there are rent reductions. And we are working on the mechanism to make sure that it is a fair and will provide assistance to businesses who pay rent.
I wonder if I could make a quick point about part-time workers.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, so I think it's an important point that they can earn up to $1,000 and still collect CERB. So in that sense, the CERB does not provide as much of a disincentive for them to go back to work. So that might help small restaurant owners and so forth retain their, get their staff back on board. So thank you.
Okay, I think we're right on time here, just about near the end. We had 45 minutes. Any closing comments, Minister?
Well, again, first I want to thank everyone, and I know it's a very, very difficult time right now. We're all living through this reality that we don't necessarily know what we'll be doing, in a month or in June, and we need to stick together. And I really appreciate the fact that your ideas will help us, make sure we have the right programs to support us during this pandemic. And then also when we start going into the next phases, hopefully sooner than later, we will have our best opportunity to work together to go towards recovery. So I just want to invite everyone and say again that we will do this together, and also that your concerns and ideas will be taken into consideration.
And I'm getting a couple more questions here, but we don't have time. So do you mind if I send those off to you?
Please submit them to me, and I also will share those answers with you and with Ron, because I'm sure he's going to get many other calls to support the businesses in his riding.
Yeah, we will. Donna, I see your question about the credit union change their business lending policy to only focus on businesses deemed to be essential businesses to support services. So they can't even apply for extension on their existing business loan. So I'll forward that off to you, and we'll work on that. Thank you very much. As always, the Chamber is really, really working hard on all levels to help inform you, bring your concerns to the powers that be like we have today. Please don't hesitate to reach out to talk to us, call us. If you need anything from the Chamber, we're here for you. Minister, really appreciate it. Thank you. We're going to send some sunshine your way. It's warm in here. I know you got snow. Sorry about that.
And an invitation, I will say we should have this conversation again very soon, because we know that it's moving so fast. And I'm sure that we'll want to continue to have this type of conversation and answer your questions.
We would really appreciate that. So we will take you up on that. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and let us know if you need anything.
Take care of you. Stay healthy. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mona, and thanks to the whole Chamber.
Bye.
Bye.